So I don't see my clock on my computer. What does everybody have for time?
5 o'clock.
5, all right. Should we start?
Okay.
Looks like all the board members are here. All right, so I will call the Village Board of Oregon to order the Monday, May 17th, 2021. And Candy, if we can have roll call, please.
Sure. Confession.
Here.
Philo.
Here.
Bollig.
Bollig is here.
Glish.
Lish is here.
Peterson.
Here.
Wunsch.
Here.
And Stitch is absent.
Okay. So we have a request to take something out of order. We'd like to go down to 8K, which is the operating license applications. Mr. Cohen needs to be somewhere, so he asked if we would take his application out of order, and I think we can do that. So if you, let's see, there it is. So it's whoops. It is for a operator's license, and there is a recommended motion to approve license for Donald L. Cohen. And there is another person on the motion, and refer application for Tyler S. Johnson to the Personnel Committee for further review and consideration. And you see in your packet, Chief has got, Chief has got recommendations for approval for Donald Cohen, and then we'll refer Tyler's application to the Personnel Committee. We've actually talked to Tyler before in the committee. So if somebody would like to make the motion to approve operator license for Donald Cohen and refer applications for Tyler S. Johnson to the Personnel Committee for further review and consideration, that would be good. All right, Amanda, I see Amanda's hand. Do we have a second? And you might have to tell me, I can't see everybody, so I'm looking for a second.
Bollig will second for this.
All right, Jerry, thank you. Any discussion from anybody? Any questions or anything? All right. All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, Mr. Cohen, you're all set, sir.
Thank you.
You bet.
I can go to work now?
You may go to work now.
Thank you very much.
You bet.
All right.
All right, we'll go back up to number 3, which is public appearances. Oh, I should mention, if you noticed, your agenda is a little bit different. Martin did a little wizardry and little redesign on the agenda. So thank you, Martin, for that.
Randy,
Yeah.
this is Bollig.
Yeah.
Could we go back to item K?
Oh, well, we already did a motion and everything. You just a comment, Jerry? What?
Well, the motion had to do with Donald Cohen.
Well,
I wanted to discuss the referral of Tyler S. Johnson to personnel.
Yeah, it was part of the motion, Jerry.
Okay, I guess my comment is going to be, I don't know why we're going to refer it back to personnel, just so personnel can refer it back to the board. I don't know why we don't deal with this right now.
Is Chief Pegenkoff on the Zoom?
Yes, I'm here.
So Chief, your recommendation is to refer it back. You would just want to just say a couple things why we're referring it back.
Correct, just based off of the information in that memo. Would like to, I think it would be best to discuss it further and offer a chance for Mr. Johnson to come in and talk as well.
Yeah,
Okay,
Jerry, if you look at the memo, there's a couple bullet points from the chief. There's a couple convictions and things that I think the chief is saying that maybe just to have a discussion in the personnel committee.
Okay, if that's the chief's desire, I'm all in favor of it. Thank you.
Okay. And as I said, Jerry, we've talked to Tyler before.
I know.
And so we did not recommend a operator's license for him, and now he wants to come back. So you guys will discuss it in the personnel committee.
Okay, are we gonna have other items for that meeting?
Jerry, I don't know. I'm not a part of that anymore. I don't know. Martin, I don't know if you or
I'm not sure if we will or not. The meeting won't be till June because we've already canceled the May meeting. So there may be some items that come up over the next month and a half or so.
Thank you.
all right, so let's go back to 3 public appearances, and we'll go to A, which is community input. This is part of the agenda that allows members of the public to provide information to the village board, including on items not listed on the board's agenda. So do we have anybody from the public that would like to speak to the board? I'm not hearing any. All right. So we'll go on to 4 and approval of village board minutes. 4A is for January 11th, 2021 village board meeting. I did, if you probably have noticed, I noticed in this one that the new board members were not trustees at that point, at this point. So looks like it's probably just me, Amanda, and Jerry for the January 11th meeting. So I'll take a moment.
Molly will move those minutes.
All right, thanks, Jerry.
I'll second.
Very good.
Peterson.
Any discussion from the 3 of us? Okay, seeing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, let's go to 4B then. May 3rd, we were all there at this one, village board meeting. That was in your packet as well. I'll take a motion to approve the May 3rd.
The Peterson will move.
And Molly will second.
And Jerry? Any
I'll second.
discussion, any comments or anything? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, excellent.
And Randy, just to clarify, did I have 3 abstentions on the July or the January 11th meeting?
You didn't, but you should. You should.
Okay.
Because the 3 new board members were not there. All right, so we're on to 5, which is approval of vouchers. And if I can get a motion in a second, just to get it on the table, we'll see if there's any discussion.
Oh, Molly will move those for discussion.
Okay. Can we get a second?
Seconded,
Who second?
Mike.
Mike, all right, thank you. All right, so we got a motion in a second. Who's got questions, any discussion?
Molly has questions.
All right, Jerry, go for it.
Okay, and Jeff Rowell isn't here tonight, so I'm not sure the question I have is going to get answered, but basically number 3953 to Interstate Billing Service for the radiator for the flatbed, a total of $685. My question, is there anybody that can answer a question about the flatbed?
Jerry, I'm looking for the invoice here. Let me see if I can pull it out. If there's more detail on there that might answer your question.
That'd be great, Lisa. Thank you.
Okay.
My question is going to be, while you're looking, was there an accident involved in that at all? Because I know we have an insurance fund that pays for that.
I would say no. It looks like it was a replacement of a hose for the
Okay.
radiator.
Okay, then, wow, $700 for a radiator hose.
Well,
That's-
and
that's-
then, well, and then radiator for something else too. Let me see if I can find it on here.
You know, Lisa, if nothing else, Jeff can answer that when he comes back.
Yeah, well, the hoses themselves were only $123.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like for an actual radiator too.
And is that installation?
That just says for parts. Because I'm not gonna make any assumptions, but maybe our mechanic installed the radiator then.
Okay,
Because this was only just for parts for the actual hose and then the radiator itself. Oh,
Okay.
it was the flatbed number 8 truck.
Right, right. I'm aware of that. That's on here. Well, just Jeff can deal with it when he comes back. How's that, Lisa?
Sure.
All right, Jerry, anything else? Yeah.
No, that's the only question I had on these.
All right, good.
I have a question.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
On page 8, what are the recurring expenses for Ziggy's catered meals?
What's the number, Mike, so we can find it?
12463
12463.
is the vendor, or do you want the invoice number?
That the vendor number that helps us.
Randy, I know what that is.
Go ahead, Jerry, what is it?
Yeah, go ahead,
Let's
Jerry.
see, those are the senior center meals that I believe on Wednesdays, there is a catered meal at Ziggy's that seniors can attend and pay a reduced fee.
Okay.
So the
So that's
seniors,
I'm sorry.
Somebody
I
was
was
speaking.
just, yeah, it's Rachel from the senior center. I was just going to clarify that it's currently a Tuesday, Thursday meal. It's a partnership with Dane County, and the village acts as a pass-through for funds that come from Dane County to reimburse Ziggy's for the cost of the meals.
Okay, thank you. Excellent.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rachel. That explains why they won't feed me on Wednesday.
Come a different day, Jerry.
I will, now that I know it's Tuesday, Thursday.
All right, any other questions on the vouchers?
Randy, I got one. For
Yeah,
the, Oregon. There's one here for the Oregon School District, invoice number 2021-15, court reimbursement for $5,758. Just wondering what that's for.
So give us the number again, Derek. The vendor number.
The vendor number is 6400.
640.
On page 4.
Okay, I got it. It's on page 4.
Yep.
So I don't know who can,
I'm seeing if I can find that voucher quickly.
yeah.
I think I know what it is, but I don't want to mislead anybody. Second here, I'm almost there. Okay, this is for the drug-free community grant that we're doing in conjunction with the school district. So this is for the for Amy Miller's time that she has spent on this grant for the months of January, February, March, and April.
And Lisa, this is a pass-through, correct?
Yes, the drug-free community grant funds come directly to the village. And then we have to reimburse the school district for their portion for their staff that's part of this grant.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right, anybody else? Good questions. All right, so our total tonight is $300,297.70 is what we are approving. We do have a motion in a second. And I guess we need a voice vote on this, Candy?
That's correct.
Okay, we're ready.
All right. Peterson,
Yes.
Belo,
Yes.
Wunsch,
Yes.
Beshin,
Yes.
Balig,
Yes.
English.
Yes. All right, thanks everybody for that. All right, we're on to 6. Proclamations and announcements. A is National Police Presentation by Chief of Police Jennifer Pagenkoff. Chief?
Yes, thank you. I looked into how our previous chiefs handled Police Week, and the documentation I found was that Chief Ewell had done a resolution with the village board, and the village board would read it off. I took that under consideration, but in light of policing in general nationally, I wanted this message to come directly from me to my staff and in front of you and the rest of the community. I wanted to share this information. I guess first to just start Police Week. What is Police Week? So others refer to as the National Peace Officers Memorial Day. Both are connected. In 1962, President Kennedy proclaimed May 15th as National Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the calendar week in which May 15th falls is National Police Week. Established by a joint resolution of Congress in 1962, National Police Week pays special recognition to those law enforcement officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty for the safety and protection of others. In 2020, the law enforcement profession lost 362 in the line of duty. As of today, in 2021, we've lost 125. I have said this before in front of the last village board, so some of you have heard this, but this is just sharing from my personal experience. One of the hardest things my family had to watch was when I stood in front of the Oregon Village Board and raised my right hand and took the oath to take care of this community, to risk my life to help others, even those who may hate me, may not know me, may want to harm me. And each of my staff is no different, hence the reason I wanted to be their chief. Each of my staff, they're committed to that same oath. The dedication they take to this community is they take very seriously. As law enforcement nationally has come under significant scrutiny, I have met and answered questions with many in our community about how Oregon polices. One of the questions that I found intriguing, and I still hear it in my head sometimes, is why do I feel it's necessary to carry a firearm as a police officer in the village of Oregon? While some may be confused by this question or even see it in a negative light, I choose to see it in a positive way. Oregon Police Department is clearly accomplishing their mission if someone feels that safe that a chief of police doesn't need to carry a firearm. We are succeeding. They feel safe. For me, much like the majority of my staff, there have been times as a police officer, I didn't know if I would go home at the end of the day because of a call. So when I share my personal experiences, please know my officers have had some of those experiences as well. For my personal experience, there have been at least 4 incidents where I have had, while working in a small community, risked my life. One was a domestic suspect who tried to run me over while I was on foot with his vehicle. A burglary suspect hiding while pointing a firearm at my back. He pulled the trigger. Luckily for me, the firearm did not go off. Another incident was I was intentionally hit while seated in a squad car by another vehicle after that same vehicle had run over a state trooper on foot. I had helped another Oregon officer wrestle a knife away from a suspect, and we were able to take him into custody successfully. I share these personal experiences with you because this is real in our community. Our officers are having these same sort of risky interactions with people who want to do harm in our community, and they never waver. They are up to the challenge and fully committed to what they swore to do. The thought of losing one of my officers, one of our officers, is truly the biggest nightmare as a chief. And it was one of the reasons I hesitated in wanting this position, because I could never, ever want to sit in front of one of my officer's family members or have to tell one of my officer's children that that officer's not coming home. But I'm dedicated to making sure they're fully equipped, well-trained, and fully supported by me in this community to do their job. I want to take this as an opportunity to thank the family and friends of my staff who have supported us and believed in us, even through those hard times. That support is so appreciated and has made such an impact. Police Week has since passed, but I would like to read to you a portion of the message I had sent to my staff during Police Week. And it says, "This last year has certainly been a challenging one for the law enforcement profession. I am sure I am not the only one who has heard the comments of, 'I would never want your job. I can't believe you're sticking around. You couldn't pay me enough.' The thing is there is only a few select human beings in this world that have the guts, heart, compassion, and commitment to see past the hatred and criticism in order to do good in this world. I'm proud to be a part and a leader of this police department, a group of dedicated people to doing the best in this profession." As Police Week has since passed, I wanted to again take this as a moment to thank my officers and their families. We have gotten through some difficult times in policing, and this is a group that wants to make policing better moving forward. So thank you.
So Chief, let me just sort of, my perspective, as an uncle of, I have two identical nephews who are police officers, one in Milwaukee and one in West Dallas. I mean, I share that we are always afraid that they're not going to come home. And it's not only, you know, afraid for them, but, and you mentioned it's the families too who sacrifice having a loved one as a police officer. So I just want to say that I appreciate living here in this village. I appreciate the sacrifice and dedication that you and the officers give us in keeping us safe in our community. For me, you have my sincere gratitude. And this is, you know, I know it was last week, but this is important that we, at least for me, and others can speak themselves, I do really sort of appreciate what you do for our community to keep us safe. And I do feel safe here. So, and Chief, just one other thing, I noticed, I might've looked at the same thing you did, but it's interesting how COVID took so many lives last year of police officers. Somebody was honoring 300 police officers, 180 of them succumbed to COVID-19. You know, kind of, you think of first responders, whatever, the first on the scene, that's amazing. And that's a horrible thing, statistic to have. So, but for me, I appreciate everything that you guys do for us.
Thank you, Randy.
I'll see if anybody else wants comments.
I'll comment. I appreciate those words very much, Chief Pagenkopf, and I think you do a great job. And I think there's opportunities that are coming to get out more in the community now that this pandemic is lifting, and to have conversations more face-to-face with those who would criticize the job you're doing. And I think that we can come together as Oregon and support our police department. I think that's very important. So I think you're doing a great job, and I see good things in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. So Chief, thanks again. Thanks again for talking tonight. Appreciate it. You bet. Okay, let's go on, folks, to 6B, which is upcoming meetings and events. We have a one-page report in our packet, upcoming meetings that we should make sure that we have on our calendars. I think that's all I need to say about that. And we go to 7, reports of village officers. This is something new, Martin. We haven't seen this before, so I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so in my previous role, I would always prepare a village administrator report for the village board for every meeting. And just to keep the members updated on things that I'm working on and my various activities that I've been doing. So there's really, I guess, only 2 things I wanted to highlight tonight. As Trustee Bollig mentioned, Jeff Rao is on vacation this week. And the other thing that I mentioned too in my report is the League of Wisconsin Municipalities is offering their Local Government 101 course, which is a really good course for elected officials to learn about local government. And they're doing it in person later this year, but they're also doing it virtually. I believe Trustee Wunsch actually, I think, is potentially going to attend that. So if you're interested in that, new or old elected officials, we can help you get signed up for that.
And Martin, I'll just say, I went to it. I think Amanda went to it as well. It's a great one-day course. You learn so much. It's worth going to.
Yep.
All right, is that it, Martin?
Yep, I'm good.
I have a question.
Yeah,
If I'm
Carlene, is that
interested-
you?
Yes, if I'm
Okay.
interested, do I just contact you directly, Martin?
Yeah, that would be fine.
Okay, great, thanks.
Because I think Martin is the one later. Is it in Madison?
The one that is in person is in Wapaka.
Okay.
But the online stuff is self-paced and you can do it at your own convenience.
Okay.
It's not, I don't think quite like that. They have
Oh.
3 days that you can go virtually and you can mix and match all 3.
Okay,
I don't know that they post them out there afterwards. I haven't looked for them yet.
gotcha.
If I
Next
can
one's-
speak,
Next one's this Friday.
Go ahead, Candy.
if I can speak to this just a little bit. So I actually helped Mike get signed up for this course. And from my understanding is they run it 3 days, but it's the same material. So if you miss,
Yeah.
if you miss a section of it, you can catch it up a different day. But Derek reached out to me too, to see about taking this course, but it doesn't really fit into his schedule. So I've contacted the league and I'm looking to purchase the courses on a USB drive, but I'm waiting to hear this week to see if it sounded to me like they were going to update the information because the last recording was from 2019. So I'm waiting on that and we might have our own course. So
Yeah.
hold tight.
Great. It's absolutely worth it. Okay. All right. So B is the Director of Public Works report on notice from the Wisconsin DNR regarding Oregon Water Works. I don't know, Martin, do you want to it's in our packet. We did upstream instead of downstream.
Yeah, so Jeff put together a nice memo here kind of explaining the situation. So in summary, of course, the DNR is very meticulous for testing and monitoring for public water systems, and rightfully so. And so in this situation, the water staff took a sample in a different point than where they were supposed to take the sample. And so what happens is that triggers a notice of non-compliance with our testing requirements. And as Jeff mentioned in his memo, that was something that they recognized was an error, and they've talked about it as staff, and we'll be correcting that. But when that happens, we do have to put a notice in the newspaper that there was a notice of non-compliance, and you can see that notice in the packet there. So just a testing error, and it's been corrected.
Yeah, these things happen. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Just a question. I'd hope to question Jeff on this today, but he's obviously gone. Are we aware of, I take it from what he had written that we're not concerned about excess levels of fluoride having been in the water, or, I mean, it's a corrosive, that's why I'm curious.
No, so as part of the water testing, the DNR has certain standards, and we're in compliance with all of our standards for public drinking water.
Okay.
All right, Mike, thanks. All right, any other questions? Otherwise, we'll go to C, which is village department head, staff or consultant comments. Do we have anything, Martin, from anybody?
I actually would, oh, go ahead, Jennifer.
This is Jennifer at the library. I just wanted to let the village board know that we did reopen for limited in-person services starting today at 11. Our in-person hours are 11 to 6, Monday through Friday. We have limited capacity and we will continue to offer curbside pickup for those who prefer it. Just wanted to make sure you knew that.
And Jennifer, you're still standing, yes?
We'll see. No, we're doing great. People have been really appreciative to have the service back, and then for the services that we worked to have available over the past year. So yeah. Thank you.
And thanks for doing that. I know you're short-staffed, but I'm sure the people in the village appreciate that. All right. Anything else? Yeah, Candy.
The only thing I'm going to mention, it was in your meetings as well, but Board of Review is this week. It's on the 19th. It's from 4 to 6, and it's in person. So that's going to be weird, but it's in person. And we've kind of checked with everybody to make sure that there's quorum. So the only person we haven't heard from, and I'm going to ask, is Jerry. And Jerry, you plan on attending, correct? He's on mute. You're on mute, Jerry.
Yes, I will be there.
Okay.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Candy, are we aware of anyone that's actually going to be appearing?
As of 4 o'clock, there was no objections, but we were just double checking with the assessor. So.
Okay.
Yeah, Mike, don't be surprised. Somebody walks in.
I won't be there because I'll be on a plane.
Yep, we know that. Yep.
And can I just put it out there and apologize to everybody in advance that when I came on the village board, I did not sync all my calendars and agreed to do some things that I already had other things I had to do. So all the calendars are synced now, and I am in Denver, but I won't be there for board review.
But you'll be thinking of us, so that's what counts.
Absolutely, and I'm trained. I did the training.
Well, and Carlene, we appreciate you sort of helping us pick up the slack while Luke is gone too. So, all right, so we're on to D, which is village board comments. Anybody have anything they'd like to say?
Randy?
Yes.
I'd like to ask Rachel how the senior center brat sale went. Did you guys make lots of money?
The senior center brat sale was very successful. In 2 hours, we made about $4,000. Awesome. And so our thanks go out to everybody in the community that supported us, to all the volunteers who made it possible, and to, and all those businesses that ordered and had brats and hot dogs delivered to their businesses. It was a lot of fun to see people together, and the volunteers they seem to really enjoy it as well. So thanks for asking, and thanks for supporting everybody. It was a great turnout. It was wonderful to see people again.
And I'll just add, they were very good brats too, Rachel.
Thank you. We try to make them good enough that people want to come back and do it again.
Okay. All right. Anybody else from the board? All right, let's go to 8, which is communication miscellaneous business. Items are for discussion and or possible action. 8A is minutes not requiring action, which is the library board. You have the minutes in your packet, so we don't have to take any action on that. 8B is to everybody, we need to confirm village board availability for Wednesday, June 30th, 6 p.m. we have a joint public hearing with the Plan Commission for the comprehensive plan amendment. So make sure that you have that in your calendars. Okay. 8C is notice to the Village Board of Military Leave Pay selection for Police Officer Cody Kohler. That's information that was also in the packet too. So we don't need to take any action on that. D is information on American Rescue Plan funds. Information only. I'm just wondering, Martin, do you just want to say anything about that one? That's a biggie.
Yeah, so I had a little memo in the packet on this. The American Rescue Plan obviously was enacted earlier this year, and there's going to be a huge influx of cash coming from that to local governments. And we're starting to learn a little bit more and more about that and how those funds can be used and all the different types of strings attached that will be attached to those funds. And there's a nice big fact sheet that the U.S. Treasury released last week about kind of expanding on that. So the funds are going to be dispersed in 2 payments, one this year and one next year. And they just need to be spent by 2024, the end of 2024. And so a lot of what I'm hearing from a lot of our professional associations is just be patient. Don't rush to spend these funds because we don't really have all of the information yet. In fact, I heard earlier too that maybe the state of Wisconsin isn't going to get as much money as it initially thought. So our $1 million may be slightly less. So we're kind of still in limbo on it. We're still learning more information, but it's something that the board should be aware of, and we can certainly talk about it as we learn more.
Okay, Martin, thank you. Any questions for Martin, board members?
I have a question.
Yeah, Carlene, go ahead.
What kinds of criteria do you expect to have attached to this money? Like certain kinds of things that it can be spent on, or just general funds?
Yeah, so there's 5 priorities. So support public health expenditures, address negative economic impacts caused by the public health emergency, replace lost public sector revenue, provide premium pay for essential workers, and invest in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. So the fact sheet in the packet kind of expands a little bit more on what all of those exactly mean. Some of them aren't necessarily very applicable to, a local government like us where, we don't do as much public health functions. But certainly things like maybe some programs to address negative economic impacts or replace any revenue that we may have lost, or invest in water and sewer infrastructure is another good one. So those are all kind of the things that are the top line items that villages or local governments are going to be able to use these funds on.
I'm sorry, I probably should have phrased that differently because I did see that. I guess what I meant was, are there things that you see in those stipulations that you could that you could foresee prioritizing at this point, or is it too early?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a one-time thing you get, so you want to make sure you use it right. You don't want to be the community that squanders this. So I know, and I need to talk to Jeff Rao a little bit about this, but I think we had some water and sewer infrastructure projects that may have gotten pushed back a little bit. So that might be a good opportunity to kind of re-accelerate some of those projects and bring them back forward. I know that there was some lead service line replacement that could be potentially part of those projects as well. So those are all good one-time, big purchases, investments that we could use those funds for.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Randy? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I talked to Martin Ashley earlier about this today. I'd like to see at least some analysis of what sort of financial impact that COVID-19 has had in our community. Do we have people that cannot pay, for instance, property taxes because of being unemployed for a period of time? I'd like also some consideration of where do we sit in terms of childcare. Do we have to do anything to help support that, to actually free people up to get back to work?
Okay, yeah. Good points. Yeah, so I think Martin, I mean, the crux of it is things are open. It's kind of still a little foggy for us what we can spend the money on, but let's think outside the box. And if we can, you know, we have some time because we got a couple of years to spend it, and let's spend it wisely and spend it where it's needed the most, I think. So I'm sure we'll have many other discussions about this. So, yeah. Okay. All right, but thanks, Mike, for your suggestions. Okay, so let's go to 8E, which is sale day report on the general obligation corporate purpose bonds. And I think, Martin, you want Lisa to, I think we got good news. We got good news on the bonds. You want Lisa to do it, Martin?
Yeah, Lisa, if you want to, Lisa.
Sure. Let me get. So I have everybody on one screen and then I have this on another screen. So I'm looking away so I can see the full screen of the memo that Martin wrote. And we did have a good sale day, even though there were only 2 people bidding on our project. We came out really a lot better than we anticipated. So we did save quite a bit of money. I think it was like around $400 and some thousand, if I remember correctly. Everybody did a great job putting everything together. The sale went good. We knew we will be refunding the bank note that we took out. I think we have to do that by June 1st. So that will probably be coming soon. We actually don't receive the funds until May 26th. So once we do receive those, we will be issuing payment on the bond or on the bank note that we have right now.
And so, Lisa, you mentioned the interest rate. I mean, how can you beat 1.69%?
I know that, yeah. It's like one of the lowest interest rates I think that we've received since I've been here. So yeah, we were very, very happy with the sale of the bonds on the 6th.
Anybody have any questions for Lisa on the sale? So Lisa, was it just the almost 500 or was there actually some more savings or was that about it?
No, that was the $470,000 basically that was less than what we anticipated. Yeah, so we anticipated more than what we actually ended up with. So yeah,
that's awesome. Any questions for Lisa on the sale? Okay. All right, Lisa, thank you very much for that update.
You're welcome.
Okay, 8F is a letter from Village Attorney Matt Gregney regarding waiver of conflict for Roger Parson annexation petition. We do have a staff recommendation, a motion to approve the waiver. There was a memo from Matt in your packet that we all read. So I will entertain a motion to approve in a second.
So moved.
All right, I'll take Amanda, and how about Mike? So, all right. Any discussion on this? Pretty straightforward. Matt thinks there won't be any conflict of interest, so we should be set to go. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, we are on to 8G, which is resolution 2132, 2021 fee schedule amendment number 1. And let's see if I can find it here. So, Candy, do you why don't you talk about this one, and let's take a motion in a second first to approve this, and then we'll have Candy just give us a little background.
Peterson will make the motion.
Okay, can I get a second, please?
I'll second.
All right, Derek, that was you, I take it?
It
Okay.
was.
All right, Candy, you want to give us a little brief on this?
Sure. Really, the amendment is kind of been sitting out there. Even when Mike was still here, we kind of wanted to do this, but it just kept getting put on the back burner. One of the things is to add the cafe permit to the fee schedule, so we did that. And the other one was cleaning up some language that was on our the developer agreement. It should be 10% and not the 1%.
Okay. All right, any questions for Candy on this one? All right, yeah, Amanda, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question. In the for the permitting for the sidewalk cafes, you know, the initial permit or application is $50 and renewing is $10. If somebody were to let their permit lapse for a year or something, when they reapply, do they pay the $50 again, or is it a renewal?
Well, that's a good question. I would say that if they've had a permit, I think, because that was one of my questions that I was asking Mike and Elise. And Elise has a running total, so I think we'd probably contact them if they're not renewing, and we'd kind of hopefully not have that problem.
Mhm. I think the thought was if there was a change to, you know, the plan of where tables would go, things like that, that was sort of the reason to do a renewal in case there was any changes. So I think as long as if it was the same business and maybe they just lapsed it for, you know, a couple months or something, I imagine we would still do the renewal. But if it's something totally new business, something like that, it would definitely be initial application if it's the same property.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I have a question.
Yeah, Carly.
I'm assuming that, you know, there were permits from summer of 2019, COVID, summer of 2020. I would imagine that, I mean, nobody was doing these kinds of things. So I wonder about even waiving the need to renew for last year. I mean, they wouldn't have renewed last year, right? I mean, is that
this is actually a new permit that we have in place. So we had previously handled these through conditional use permits, and then it was our consultant's recommendation that we do sort of a separate right-of-way use permit. So folks that have been doing outdoor seating previous to the spring sort of grandfathered in, but any changes they make, like I know the Firefly just added some additional seating along the road, and they did apply for one of these sidewalk cafe permits as sort of an amendment to what they had been doing previously.
Got it. Okay. I assumed it was something that was already in place, but this is new.
So it's a new thing.
Okay. Thank you.
So like example, the wine reserve probably would have to get a permit because they're brand new.
Right, yeah, they have a permit. The Kickback Cafe that's coming next to the Chocolate Caper, I know he's planning on submitting a permit this week.
Okay. Any other questions for Candy or Elise on this? All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, excellent. All right, we're moving along. 8H, which is a resolution number 2034, village response and actions related to COVID-19 pandemic, including village hall reopening and in-person public meetings. We do have a staff recommendation to approve the resolution as presented. Martin, do you want to just give just a quick before we get a motion in a second, maybe?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So when I was hired here in the last 2 weeks, the staff has kind of talked to me about what's the plan for reopening and doing in-person meetings. And so we had a conversation, and the staff had a conversation about what our thoughts on this are. And the general consensus was, kind of a plan to reopen Village Hall to the general public when we return from the July 4th holiday on July 6th. And then to go back to in-person meetings the week of I guess it would be July 12th would be the next set of meetings. And then, of course, as far as any guidelines for COVID-19, we would still comply with any Dane County public health orders and guidance on masks and building occupancy and that sort of thing. So we kind of figure we get through, we're kind of in a little bit of a, an awkward stage right now, the pandemic, and some people are vaccinated and some aren't, and that sort of thing. So I think we're hoping we get through another month and a half, and we'll be hopefully well on our way through to some kind of sense of normalcy.
Okay. All right. So we do have a staff recommendation is to approve the resolution 2134 as presented. So I will take a motion in a second to approve that. We can still have more discussion if we need it.
I'll go make that motion.
Okay. Thank you, Jerry.
Milo, second.
All right. Thank you, Derek. All right. Any other discussion? Amanda, you look like you want to say something.
Yeah. So, and I don't know that it's necessarily relevant for a July 12th opening, but at some point we'll need to talk about how our knowledge of Zoom and this new technology would help us in case of inclement weather. Like in the winters when it's really terrible weather out, like how can we use this virtual medium to facilitate people coming before the board who maybe can't, are homebound or something, but they want to testify to something at a meeting. Like, I'd like us to find a way to allow that through Zoom at in-person meetings, like for consultants. If it's bad weather, they shouldn't have to drive from up north down here just for one meeting if it's terrible weather out. Just some things to think about for future, how we can combine in-person and Zoom.
Yeah, good points, Amanda. Good points. Yeah.
I would add to that. I'm in Denver right now and I'm in the meeting, so I can anticipate me being in North Carolina in summer when there's a meeting, and rather than not attending, being able to attend via Zoom would be a great option. So, not that I won't take a vacation and sometimes miss, but I would like to take it very seriously and be here whenever possible.
Okay. Candy, we didn't do a motion on this, did we?
Yes, we did.
Oh, we did.
Yep,
Okay.
you've got Bellig and Velo.
All right, thank you. That's why you're here, Candy. So, all right, we do have a motion to approve resolution number 2134. All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, perfect. Okay, we're on to 8I, which is request from the Oregon Allies to use public parking lot adjacent to the Massive Memorial in Waterman Triangle Park for the stand up and lean in day out in Oregon event on June 5th. The staff recommendation is to authorize village administrator, village clerk, and chief of police to work with the Oregon Allies to accommodate any closures of the parking lot for the event. And there was also a little memo in your packet. So I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
I'd move that.
Okay, Carlene, thank you. And Amanda, second. Any other discussion?
Randy,
Yeah.
well, if you could circle back to me if there's no other discussion, if you could.
Yeah, go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, if no one else wants to, I'm actually going to abstain from voting on this as my wife's name is on the permit application for the park.
Okay.
So I'm not going to vote.
Yeah.
Can I ask what this event is?
Yeah, Derek, you want, or Amanda? Yeah.
I don't know if Derek wants it or me.
Derek, you want?
Go ahead, Amanda. You could probably.
So I've been helping to plan this event with the Oregon Allies, and it's basically an educational event and perhaps part celebratory too. It's supposed to be, it's during Pride Month. It's in support of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, questioning, intersex, asexual, and on and I, all of the big tent, LGBTQ plus. And we've been working with the GSA groups at all the Oregon School District schools and asking the people, the kids in those groups, what they would like to do. So part of this is going to be student-led. We're going to have some educational speakers, maybe a panel. We're going to talk, we're going to have some booths, places where, people can go get more information and just be very welcoming. It's like Oregon's own Pride Fest.
Pride party.
Yeah. So there's going to be a lot to do, but we need some space for booths. We've put some money down for some tables from the village and reserved the shelter. We want it to be visible, but we need some space to spread out a little bit with all of these activities.
Excellent.
And I've been asked to MC this too.
Oh, excellent.
I said yes. Any other questions? All right. Candy, we got them. We have them.
Yep,
All right.
you got Vestian and Peterson.
Anything after 3 o'clock, guys, I start fading. So, all right. All right. Any other discussion? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed. And we have Derek abstaining. Okay, excellent. All right, we're on to 8J, which is a quick claim deed for 320 North Burr Oak Avenue between the Village of Oregon and Thomas and Lori Stoller to release conditions for the completion of improvements in the April 24, 1992 warranty deed. There is a staff recommendation, a motion to approve the quick claim deed as presented. Anybody who just want to give us a 1 or 2 sentence on this one? Sounds like it was something that was put on a long time ago and they want to sell and they need to take it off.
Yeah, Candy, this is Matt. Do you want me to speak to this or do you want to?
I think that it's your turn.
Okay. So as I understand it, Candy or the village was contacted by the attorneys who represent the stores who are working to sell a business and the real estate associated with that. And the deed that was used to convey the property to the current owners back in 1992 did include a reversionary interest for the village, as I recall, unless certain conditions were satisfied. As I understand it, those conditions were satisfied some time ago. And the title company is looking for something from the village to confirm that that good title to this property can now be conveyed without that reversionary interest in the village still being an issue. So the attorneys for the sellers, I spoke with the attorney for the sellers and we agreed that a quitclaim deed would be a simple, easy way to do this. She prepared the deed. I looked at it, looked fine. And so that's the background.
All right, Matt, thank you. So I'll entertain a motion in a second to approve.
So moved.
All right, Mike, thanks. Second?
I'll second.
Is that Derek?
Yep.
All right, excellent. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, we are on. We did K already with the operator license. We're on to 9, which is report of committees. Items are for discussion and possible action. Number A is the park board. And looks like A1 is authorize the Oregon Nature Alliance in Oregon Public Library to hold a story walk in Keller Alpine Meadows. The park board and staff recommendation is to approve the motion to authorize the story walk in Keller Alpine Meadows for summer of 2021. Can I get a motion for that? Get that on in a second.
Yeah.
I second.
Mike and Carleen, okay. Right? I have that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Anybody want to say anything about this, Martin or Jennifer? Pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. We were approached by the Nature Alliance to work with them on it. We've done something similar at Anderson Farm County Park every year as part of their fall event. We have a story walk outside the library. It's very temporary. It's like, probably 20 to 30 signboards on wires stuck into the ground. Kids and families can walk through the park, read the story, kind of a fun, constructive, safe thing to do and get out of the house and move around.
Okay. Amanda, do you want to add something?
No, I was just going to ask what a story walk is, what was meant. So by that was it.
All right. Are you clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jennifer explained.
All right. We got a motion by Mike and a second by Carleen for approval. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, perfect. All right, we're on to B, which is Plan Commission. And B1 is resolution number 2129, establishing public participation procedures for the 2021 comprehensive plan amendments. Plan Commission and staff recommend for us to approve the resolution as presented. Elise, do you want to say anything on this?
I think I did an overview of the parcels to be amended. There's kind of 3 areas that we're looking to do the comp plan amendment for this year. At your last meeting, you approved the contract with Vanderwall for about $3,500 to do that work. This is just part of the process is approving a public participation plan. This is just outlining when letters get mailed, when public hearing notices are sent out, and then the schedule for that meeting. That'll be that June 30th joint meeting between the board and the planning commission. So basically just laying out the calendar for all the public hearing notices and letters to go out.
Okay. All right, so can we get a motion for resolution number 21-29?
I can make a resolution.
Thank you, Carleen.
Motion for a resolution.
Can we get a second, please?
Peterson will second.
All right, thank you, Amanda. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, excellent. All right, we're on B2, which is resolution number 2130. Resolution regarding the recommendation from the Plan Commission to the Village Board to initiate amendment to the Oregon Urban Service Area to include 20 acres of property owned by the Hofford Living Trust located on the west side of County MM, and parcel number 05091348-500-0 to accommodate phase 2 of Autumn Ridge residential subdivision. Plan Commission and staff recommendation is that the motion is to approve the resolution as presented. Can I get a motion in a second? Then we can discuss if we need to.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, Balak, and then Amanda, I saw your hand pop up there. All right. Any discussion? Elise, do you want to say anything? Because I know there was a change in their plans.
Right, and that change is actually why this resolution is coming back to the board. The previous board adopted a similar resolution back in January, February of this year. Originally for Autumn Ridge, the plan was to do an urban service area amendment for both phase 2, which is just south of phase 1, and then phase 3, which is sort of on the east side of MM across the street there. Since that time, the developers decided just to pursue sort of all the approvals for phase 2 at this time. So urban service area amendment, all of the plat things, all of those will be coming to you in the coming weeks and months, but just making this adjustment to just move forward with the urban service area amendment for phase 2 rather than 2 and 3.
Okay. Any questions for Elise on this? All right, we do have a motion in a second. I'll take all those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, passes. We're on to 10, unfinished business. We have none. New business. 11A is goal setting with the village administrator. Martin, you're on.
So I know Randy had asked the board members to put together, 3 of their priorities for the village at the last meeting. And so in the last 2 weeks, I've been able to talk with everybody, and either priorities were shared with me verbally or a couple in emails. So I kind of tried to summarize and in no particular order, kind of what I heard. And you have that list there in the packet. So I guess my thought process is, if there's 3 to 5 goals that you want to see myself work on for the next year or so, then this would be a good time to have that discussion, and certainly not something we need to decide tonight, but can come back and kind of keep hashing it out at the next couple of meetings.
So everybody has had a chance to sort of see the list. Anybody want to start the discussion? We don't have to have it tonight, but any thoughts about what you saw as we also, as Martin kind of collectively collected our thoughts? I'll just make a couple comments. I mean, I think the affordable housing, even prior to the new board members, that was even a priority for us last year and the year before. So I wasn't surprised to sort of see that. I'm not surprised to see the new library project. I mean, that's something that we gotta get completed and get done. So none of the things on here surprised me. What were other people's thoughts? I mean, what do you think? All right,
Go ahead, Amanda.
Let me go Amanda and then Mike. What's that?
Okay. Well, no, I agree, Randy. I think all of this looks good. I feel like the library and affordable housing are well on their way. And I think I've seen every board member support that. So I feel like those are pretty solid. Some of the other things are maybe less solid, or I'd be curious to hear board members. I mean, because I know which ones of those I submitted. And I'm curious if everyone else is in agreement with these, or if something.
So let me make a comment on the affordable housing thing. I 100% I want to see it. The one thing that I keep hearing, and I don't know how we fix this, is even with the 2 projects that we have on Janesville Street, even though they got tax credits and all that, what I'm hearing from mostly is from seniors. They cannot afford $1,500 rents. And so I'm all for affordable, but is there something that we can do to make it more affordable for like our seniors? And I've also heard from like young families starting out, they don't have a lot of money and they want to be here. So I just want to sort of make that comment. I'm absolutely for affordable housing, but if there's some way, and I also understand that developers have to make money, otherwise they don't do the project. But if there's something that we could think outside the box, I don't want to disappoint the folks who absolutely can't live here because they can't find an affordable place to live. So just that comment, Amanda.
Okay. Oh, well, and I see Carlene wants to talk too, but
let's go Mike and then Carlene.
Mike was next.
Yeah, Mike.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear whoever put forward the piece on financial responsibility. I'd really like to hear a little bit more about where they wanted to go with that. I personally have motivated the public transportation. I think it's an absolute barrier to growth in Oregon, the fact that people can't get out of this village unless they own a car. I think that there are senior citizens, people with different abilities, people, younger people that are basically, unless you have a car, you're kind of trapped in Oregon, or even movement within the village can be difficult from one part to the other, even to get grocery shopping and bills. So there are multiple levels at which I think both uniting with finding some way to extend Madison Metro that gets halfway down here anyway into Fitchburg, to extend that into Oregon, and or have some sort of ride sharing or some sort of activity, busing activity within Oregon, just to get to different areas within the village would be useful.
So Mike, this is not the first time that I, being a trustee, heard this. I know this was something that Amanda has brought up in the past. And I mentioned this to Martin. Maybe it's time for some, and I think Amanda's kind of had this idea, some little committee or research. What would it take? I mean, we need to find out what's feasible. Is there interest? What's feasible? What would it take to get something? And so I think that's a way, maybe a first step is to sort of get a little ad hoc committee together and figure out, do some research, what it would take. Because yeah, you're right. I mean, seniors, they don't, a lot of them don't have a car. And so my personal opinion is I like the idea, but let's research it and let's see where we go with it. And others can to chime in. Mike, did you have more before we go to Carlene?
No, I'll go to Carlene for now.
Carlene, go ahead.
So first I want to thank Randy for asking us to set 3 priorities, and to Martin for taking the time to meet with each of us. This list and this discussion feels like a 3-hour thing in and of itself.
Yeah.
In order to really give each thing on that list the time and thought it deserves, and the what makes something a higher priority than something else, and how do we do that? To have this discussion in 15 minutes at this point in the meeting seems like we will not do it justice.
So Carlene, think of it this way. This is just the beginning, and we can.
I'm just making an observation.
Yeah.
That I personally don't feel like any decision should be made out of this conversation.
No,
that's all.
We're just throwing out our thoughts, and I think that maybe we can do is this could be on our agenda for the next, 3, 4, so we get some more discussion. But you're right. And it
feels like an in-person kind of discussion.
Okay.
To me.
So Carlene, let me ask you, what when you see this, what do you like it, the list, or?
Oh yeah, everything on this list I could go with, and I could add 3 or 4 more. But I think, this is my second board meeting.
Yeah.
And I've only been to one of each of the committees that I'm on.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more information that I need before I can look at a list like this and think in terms of what I personally would recommend.
Yeah.
Give it without more background. And so I'm just,
No,
I think it's this is a great thing to have out there and to start to talk about. And I would like to see us make a plan for having time that we just focus on this.
Okay.
This feels like a retreat list.
Yeah, I didn't think that we were going to sort of come to some conclusion. It was basically, and Martin was thinking the same thing. It's just sort of our starting point.
Okay. Just needed to say that.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. So Mr. Financial Responsibility, are you going to speak up, or I know who that is. Seems to be silent.
Did he just leave?
He's left the room.
Yeah, so Mike, most of us know who that was.
I kind of knew who it was, but I wanted to hear where he was headed on this.
And Jerry, we're talking about you.
Yeah, I had to turn off my phone. It rained.
All right.
I can't wait to go to in-person meetings and be away from phones and animals and things like that that are constantly disturbing me. you know, and as Carleen said, this is a great list. It's a great starting point. And in my time on the board, many of these things have been addressed. In the big stumbling block, or the big, see what I mean?
Yeah.
The big stumbling block is always trying to get these things done, or picking just one and trying to get it done without spiking the tax levy. You know, we don't want to drive people out of Oregon because our taxes get too high.
And we all hear it. We all hear it all the time.
Pardon?
We all hear about being taxed on their, or people being taxed on their houses.
Right, right. So again, you know, I mean, I think if we just pick one item and pursue it and research it, and then, you know, have a line item in the budget for new projects or new pursuits, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's busing, I think affordable senior housing is a major item we should look at, because so many people are living longer now, and so many people don't want to leave Oregon, but they're being forced to go to Stoughton, Evansville, you know, all the satellite villages around Oregon. So again, that's my 2 cents worth.
Okay.
And again, this is a discussion we could have at budget time.
Yeah.
Because then we'll know exactly where we are with the finances of the village.
Definitely need more talk. But I mean, one reason that I asked to have this on there is that for me, it's good to know that my fellow board members, well, what are my fellow board members thinking? Are we in sort of sync? And if we can come to some consensus of what to work on, that then we do it together as a team. I like that idea, that we're all sort of on the same page and we work toward a goal. But so this is just the beginning. So Derek, we haven't heard anything from you. If you'd like to say.
Yeah, I would actually. First, I'd like to thank Martin for the layout of everything. I think that's really nice. And there's actually something that stuck out on here that isn't necessarily on the list. I'm big on the affordable housing one. I think that's probably my favorite. But I think the other one that should be looked at is or something on the administrator recommendation of being time bound, because there's a lot of these projects that, yeah, we can talk until we're blue in the face, but there needs to be some sort of time limit and action on those. And I think especially as the federal funding that is approaching, look to see what might be able to be put forward from that towards some of these projects. So I think that's something we need to keep in mind. I think my favorite, like I say, is the affordable housing, but I also want to be careful with that one, because I also don't want to create a community through planning where the affordable housing is on one side of town and the not so affordable housing is on the other. So I think we kind of need to keep the equity in mind on that one going forward. So I think those are my main thoughts on this, but I look forward to revisit.
Yeah, good point. Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Amanda.
So I'm going to just put this idea out there, since we're not taking any action on it, but regarding the library. And of course I support the library. I'm on the building committee, new library, yay. I think we maybe need to reevaluate where the library is going. And I know that's going to be a shock to some people, but I just keep hearing from more and more people, including people in the neighborhood around the library, that's a very complicated site, and it's probably more than some of them bargained for. And maybe we could look at putting it out by the kitty corner from the new Village Hall, the bank building that we bought, CC and Alpine Parkway there. because it's got nice nature views and it's right off a bike path and there's space for parking, and we could eliminate a lot of the complicated issues we have around the library. The drawback is that it's not near downtown, and we've already probably used some impact fees to pay for the land, but that land can become something else that's in the neighborhood there. It could be a park. Maybe there's a smaller development that would be amenable to the people in the neighborhood that could go there instead, and the village could recoup the money they've paid for that land. You know, I see just a lot more possibilities out there, and the design for the library, I mean, the basic design for it would fit out there. It wouldn't be a lot to change necessarily in the plans. And since the architect is still, I don't know, not hired yet, right, Jennifer? We have the potential to do that now. So I'm just throwing it out there as an idea. Maybe we could look at that again at some point.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anybody else before we move on? So Martin, we'll bring this back. I mean, some of these could be very lengthy and they might have to be lengthy discussions. But we shouldn't, you know, we should do that sooner than later. I mean, because time flies by, and if we're going to do something, as Derek was saying, we're going to have a time frame and stuff like that. Time has a way of getting away from us. So, but we'll revisit. We'll keep talking and we'll see what happens. Okay. All right. So 12, future agenda items. Martin, you're looking to see if anybody's got something. Obviously, this would be probably, Martin, this will come back. We need to have more discussion on goal setting. Anybody else? Martin, you're looking for suggestions. If anybody's got anything else.
Yeah. If anybody has any items for future agendas, this would be a good time.
All right. Well, if you think of something, you can always email Martin. Be happy. Put it on. All right. We're on to 13. Discussion possible action addressing parking considerations for the future library site. So looks like we have two recommendations. The first one, staff recommendation number 1, is a motion to authorize village staff to pursue a zoning text amendment for Village Zoning Code Chapter 17 parking requirements. I don't know, Martin, do you want us to should we get a motion in a second? We can discuss.
I'll motivate that one.
All right, Mike, can I get a second, please? Pardon?
I can second.
All right, Carlene, thank you. So we got a motion and a second. Discussion on this one.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to provide a little bit of background.
Go ahead, Elise. Be good.
So, as most of you all have heard now, you know, various meetings of the last month or so, I have presented a memo, sort of just a preliminary review of sort of where we are with current requirements, what are some of the competing needs on the site that we've you know, learned more about since the conceptual design has started, with stormwater requirements, you know, just sort of all the competing space needs on the site. So have now been to village board, library building committee, and the planning commission with that memo, and had a lot of really good discussion. We had kind of a more maybe task-oriented discussion of the planning commission back in the first week of May, and I think the 3 sort of potential solutions or remedies or options to sort of pursue that have been identified for the new library site, and I think these could all be pursued, you know, simultaneously, are essentially 3 options. One is the amendment to our parking requirements in our zoning code. Currently working on just sort of a simple side-by-side memo of Fort Atkinson's code, which was adopted in last fall in 2020. More modern day parking standards of a similar size community than our 2006 options. So, you know, there are a lot of different categories where parking requirements might change, and it's not just something we can change for the library site. It would be across the whole village. We don't necessarily have to adopt changes for every use category, but I think if we're doing it now, it would be a good time to take a look and see if our requirements are maybe a bit excessive for what other communities might be requiring. We certainly don't want to be paving over our village. We want to make sure that businesses and other, you know, buildings are able to operate as they need to with parking. And then I guess we can talk about the next motion when we get there, but basically pursuing a MOU with the school. And then the last one is looking to potentially purchase property adjacent to the library site that's owned by the Oregon Farm Center. So we can discuss more of those in detail if you have questions.
Well, Elise, I just wanted, going back to the recommendation for number one, basically what you're asking us to do is to just approve staff looking at what is possible in terms of changing the parking requirements. What would that look at? Do some research on what others, like Fort Atkinson you mentioned in this, what are they doing? What's potentially possible? We're not here changing the zoning code. We're just authorizing you guys to look at some options.
Right. Yeah. So right now, the tentative schedule is that I would sort of present this memo of the side-by-side parking requirement analysis to the Planning Commission at their June 3rd meeting. We would have a discussion with them, and then you know, assuming both the board and the Planning Commission are supportive of making these updates to the zoning code, we actually have to have that as an ordinance, as a zoning text amendment. So that would be coming probably, you know, maybe in July at the soonest. But yeah, not making any changes to the code at this point, just sort of looking for your support and blessing if this is something you want to pursue.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to strongly support looking at redoing the ordinance, not just for library and institutional uses, but also for the commercial areas of the village. There are vast, well, maybe not vast, but large expanses of asphalt that sit in our community that I've never seen a car in. You know, whether you look up at the Bills parking lot area, you look across the street at Dorn, you look at any of our other commercial areas, there's always empty space. The only parking lot that I ever see in this village that isn't big enough is the one that's downtown, which has all the competing interests of the government and all the commercial establishments in the area. I think it'd be really beneficial for Oregon not to put that burden on businesses that they have to pave over land. We could get better land density, or building density within our community, which would make it more walkable and more bikeable. I think there's only plus sides to addressing the ordinance.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah, Amanda?
Well, I have a question about the motion and the second. Was that just for the staff recommendation number 1, or is that for staff recommendations 1 and 2?
We're not even on 2 yet. We're just talking.
Okay, this is just 1. Okay, good. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anybody else? Discussion. So just so we're clear, the motion is to authorize village staff pursue the zoning tax amendment, just looking at see what's possible, what can be changed, looking at other municipalities. And then there'll be time for this to sort of come back before it goes to the Plan Commission. They'll and before us to approve. So we're not approving any zoning change. We're just authorizing, let's look at what's possible. That's all we're approving tonight. So we do have a motion and a second for number 1. I'll take all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so now, Amanda, we're gonna go to staff recommendation number 2, which is to authorize village staff to pursue a formal MOU with the Oregon School District for a shared parking agreement at the Netherwood Knoll Elementary parking lot. And I think everybody got, Ray Vogler sent an email to us today with a copy of the letter that she had received from previous school superintendent Brian Bussler. So you should have seen that too. So again, we're just sort of authorizing village staff to pursue some kind of formal agreement, MOU with the Oregon School District for the use of the Netherwood Knoll Elementary School. So I'll take a motion in a second. We can get that on the table.
I move.
All right.
Seconded.
All right, Mike. Okay. Discussion on this.
Go ahead, Amanda.
No, go ahead.
I was just, I got no issue doing the memorandum of understanding with the school district. I guess my concern is more the crossing there, as long as that's getting addressed along with it, because people aren't going to walk down to Lincoln Street to use the crosswalk or the other direction to use that crosswalk. So as long as there's something in the plans to kind of address the pedestrian crossing there, because that's going to become an issue. I don't want someone getting hurt at that
Yeah.
point.
Derek, let me just say, I was I'm now on the Plan Commission. This was talked about, and what I liked from what I heard is that there are plans to have lights, and I like this idea of this radar, which I had never heard of. So when somebody actually gets close to the crossing, I think the lights come on and sort of to make, so it is being, Derek, it is being addressed. That's an important part. And I will say that no matter what happens, how we figure this parking thing out, I would support getting this anyway, even just as overflow for any kind of big events or anything, regardless if we're able to get all the parking on the space or on the street or whatever. I think this is smart of us to do as overflow. So that's just my 2 cents.
Just to add one note about the crossing, Derek, if you're not familiar, so there actually is going to be a stoplight, red, green, and yellow lights that'll be triggered when somebody presses that button, or again, if they get close to that crossing. Just to keep in mind, we certainly want to try to make that as safe as possible, and hopefully we can keep that number low, in terms of the number of people crossing the street there. But that'll be something we take a look at. But there's been a traffic study done on visibility and the hill and everything too, and that was sort of the solution that was landed on, was this button controlled actual stoplight.
Yeah.
Of course, in both directions.
Your concern is the same concern of a lot of folks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a really good point to keep bringing up. And Mike,
yeah, I actually think the parking light needs to be addressed more so because the school's sitting across the street, and kids are going to be going. I mean, to me, if someone's parking there, the parents with the kids, it's less of a danger than kids just walking across the street after school, which I expect will be a common occurrence. I'm strongly in support of this agreement. I think the times that the school uses its lot versus the time when the library uses the lot are pretty complementary to one another. The school's busy during the day, the library will be busy at night on weekends. I think the parking arrangement's going to work both ways. Having lived in this neighborhood for a while, that the hill where the library is going to be gets parked up every time there's parent-teacher conferences. So people that use the school will be using that lot and the crossway as well.
okay, thank you, Mike. Anybody else want to chime in before we vote?
Well,
yeah, Amanda.
So Randy, I want to address your comments, which I thought were good. I could see the village pursuing a memorandum of understanding with the school district for using the lot in general for any village overflow purpose, in which case I could support going through doing something like that, But if we were to talk at a future time about the library, if it wasn't going to go there, would we still need this? So I think it's a good idea to just have that available in case there's another event. So I like it for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see use, of the library lot by the school for school events, and then vice versa, school lot for library events, going both ways. I think it's important to remember too, these would both be public parking lots. They're not permitted. It's first come, first served too. So when it's available, those spaces would hopefully be available for, anybody to use for any purpose. But the letter that's been shared is a good first step. But in order to really be able to count any of these spaces towards meeting any kind of parking requirement for the library site, we do need to have a more formalized MOU in place. So hence the request to you all.
Okay. All right, we ready? So what we're doing is we're making a motion to authorize village staff to pursue a formal MOU with the school district on a shared parking agreement at Netherwood Knoll Elementary parking lot. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. We're good. Okay, we are on 14, and we are going to go into closed session. So let me just sort of read the statutes. Just so it's under Wisconsin statute 19.851E, deliberating and negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. So we need a voice vote to be able to go into closed session. So Candy?
We actually need a motion to go into closed session first.
So if somebody wants to make a motion, I'll make the motion. I can do it, Candy, right? I'll make the motion to go into closed session. Can I get a second? Amanda?
Sure.
Peterson.
All
All right.
Voice vote?
All right. Glish,
Yes.
Balig. Is he there, Balig?
Muted.
Okay,
Yes.
he's muted. Okay. Wunsch,
Yes.
Fashion. Is she still here?
Yeah.
Fashion? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Elo,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
you're good to go.
Okay. All right. Elise, you will take care of things for us. Make sure it's just us.
Yep. So I think Jennifer, Way, you'll stick on, probably Matt, Martin, and I. But if every